Right, yeah, so good afternoon everyone, I'm Gemma, I'm the delivery manager for Together Housing. Together Housing is a housing association with about 37,000 properties over a massive geographical spread, and we've got just under 200 here in Preston. So we're talking today about the journey to net zero and climate change and how we can change. As Suzanne has just said, 53% of the Lancaster homes are giving low carbon emissions, and it's exactly the same for all housing associations as well. Our offices do a certain amount, our transport, our vans do a certain amount, but our homes, our properties that we have the most carbon emissions that we have to reduce. So what do we have to do? First things first, get a plan in place. So we decided to put our carbon reduction strategy together, which is basically just a plan how we're going to insulate and retrofit our homes, get them renewable energy in there instead of the fossil fuels, and then reduce those carbon emissions and save our tenants money. So we've got quite a few different things to show you. So retrofit is basically insulating. So as been said by wonderful people before us, the insulation basically reduces the energy demand in your home, so you don't have to spend as much. So insulation is really important. We're doing underfloor insulation, cavity wall insulation, external wall insulation and lofts. And so far we've done about 4,000 renewable energy projects. We have a massive goal of doing 50 megawatts of solar panels by 2030, reducing all of our property, well, improving all of our properties to an energy performance rating of C by 2030. And by 2035, we want to have what we call a solar plant. So the 50 megawatts of solar will actually start to generate revenue for us, so we can put more investment into our properties. So plans are great, they have to lead us into action, and insulation is just one step on the net zero. So insulating reduces the heat demand, but we need to also get rid of our fossil fuels, so we have to get rid of gas, and this is probably one of the biggest sticking points for us with our tenants, is they love their gas, because it's what we're used to. So what we're doing is we're getting data from all of the renewable energy projects that we've got in. We are using heat pumps, we are using solar, but we're getting the data from those so that we can actually show tenants how beneficial they can be, which I'll come on to in a little bit. Funding, massive issue. We're a housing association, we are not made of money. So thankfully the government have actually put massive pots of money aside for us. One of the biggest and most applicable at the moment is the Social Housing Decarbonisation Fund. We were successful in our Wave 1 bid, we've been successful in our Wave 2 bid, which in a nutshell means we have just shy of 10 million of grant funding from the government to improve our homes. But it's really costly exercise to do it. So I'll show you a couple of projects that we've been using, but all of the insulation projects, the renewable heat, the solar, it comes at a cost. Not just a cost for us, but a cost for our residents in time. You know, the number of surveys and the number of contractors that have to go into your home to do this can be quite costly in itself for you guys. So what we're trying to do is minimize that. So we have really been working on our processes to try to make it as slick as possible, and we're working with our tenants to make sure that we can make those improvements. So one of the things I've got on there on the bottom is using technology. So as I said about collecting the data for us, one of the things that's most beneficial with heat pumps is actually we can remotely diagnose issues and repairs. So a repairs technician might not actually need to come to your home, they can fix it remotely, which is brilliant for you guys and brilliant for us. This is one of our projects, before, during and after. This is an external wall insulation project. We have probably done about 1,000 of these now. They're blocks of flats, and we've put 100 mil of insulation on the outside and then a silicone render on the top. And not only does it improve the heating, the insulation, and reduce the heating for the tenants, but it makes the site look so much better. It really does improve it. One of our tenants actually was monitoring during the install and heard we'd only just put the insulation on the outside, we hadn't done the render, and it was a 1 degree temperature change just from putting the insulation on the outside. It hadn't even been finished properly, and she was so happy. We're also quite innovative at Together Housing, so we're using a lot of new products. And this is another one. So this is called Cork Sol. It's sprayed cork insulation. It can be used inside and out. So not only does it improve the thermal efficiency, but it also makes it look a lot better as well. It's fire retardant because it's cork. It's sustainable because it's cork. And it's also used as it comes from a waste product because we're not using wine corks anymore, so we have plenty of it to use. This is more real life examples. So we had a ground floor flat on a tower block. It was unaffordable to heat. We literally could not let it out because we just couldn't sustain it for a tenancy. It was an EPC rating of G, so that's illegal to rent it out now. It was only 2 meters, 11 centimeters high, so you can't do internal insulations. So what on earth are we going to do? So again, we've been innovative and we've trialled insulation paint. So it's been void for years, so it hasn't had a heating system on. It was a maximum of 12 degrees in temperature. When we put the insulation paint on, just the insulation paint, it raised 4 degrees. So it went up to 16, that's before we did anything else. Then we put in radiant panel heaters with, you can see it on the right there, that's a battery storage system. So the, like old storage heaters where you have your electricity tariffs, it charges overnight on a cheaper tariff. This works exactly the same. So the battery will store and charge overnight on a cheaper tariff and then dispense during the day when you need it for the radiant heating. And now we have a tenant in there because it's an EPC rating of D, which is still trying to get it up to that magic C, but we'll see. And she's perfectly happy and she's paying normal bills, which has been absolutely fantastic. And the 2 pictures in the middle is where we've used spray cork insulation inside. So again, the heat loss to the room and roof was horrendous, so we used spray cork there. We've had massive steep learning curves in all of our retrofit and renewable heat projects. And one of the biggest issues we've had is tenant refusals. So we had about 20% of tenants refusing insulations, even though it will save them money. We've managed to get that right down, thankfully, because we've been working on collecting that data to prove the cost savings. We have actually sort of looked at how costly a heat pump is to run, and it's £2 a day. Okay, yep, nearly done. So yes, we've done loft, wall and underfloor insulations and the heat pumps. So far we've actually installed 2,300 heat pumps, 3,000 solar PV and batteries, 2,250 homes have been insulated, and as I say, the cost of the heating is about £2 per day. One of our most recent projects is Qbot, which is our little robot that does the underfloor insulation. It's quite impressive. I really enjoyed playing with it once. But when you have all 3 of those things, so the wall insulation, the loft and then the floor, your home will cost about £60 per month to heat for heating and hot water. So it really does make a difference to our tenants. All of this is about carbon emissions and saving the climate. So far we have saved in the last 18 months 4,011 tonnes of carbon in Together Housing through all these projects that we've had ongoing. And just to put that into some sort of context, you probably all know what a fire extinguisher looks like. We've saved the equivalent of 2,005,000 fire extinguishers worth of carbon going into our atmosphere in the last 18 months. So we've got a lot left to do, but we will get there.